Hi, and before you jump into this episode, I just want to remind you that we'd have to break this episode into two parts, and this is part two. So if you haven't watched part one, then click on the link in the description, that'll take you right there. And if you like his videos, please like them and subscribe and click the bell icon. Check out his socials, and yeah, enjoy part two.
Hi everyone, welcome back to part two of the SkyPunk Media podcast. We are continuing our video game showcase, and I have rebooted my router, so hopefully we should be fine, but as we all know, that's not going to be a reality. Probably going to drop out, sorry. Just blame the companies. But yeah, so far we've gone through 4 awards, so we've got a couple more to go before the highly anticipated game of the year. So we'll waste no time. We'll just jump straight into it. And the next award is for the best comeback. Now, this is specifically for games that have been well established in the community, and we have seen entries come back, new games. We've certainly seen a number of titles come through into the fold, and we basically want to see which one is the best. So from all the nominations, so the first one I can see was Crash Bandicoot 4, It's About Time, which I can see Colin voted for. Certainly a winning entry. I've yet to play it, but I'm hoping to get that ordered at some point. But just got backlogs, so should be. Hopefully, it lives up to the hype. The second one, which I can see another returning nomination, is the Final Fantasy VII remake. I can see voted for by Troy and Jonny.
I think I voted for it every time it came up, so
I can see why. Yeah, I don't know if there's anything more that we can actually say about Final Fantasy VII that we haven't. I mean, certainly it's been the game has been well established for the past 35 years, and obviously this one being quite a popular entry. But do you guys have any comments on it? I don't know if we.
in terms of remakes, I can just say it lives up to expectation and breaks it in some cases, and I think it's just a really worthy one, because I know sometimes it can be remakes, it gets picked apart, but similar to Resident Evil 2, it's done a really good job in what it does, so I'll leave it as that for my part.
How about yourself, Troy?
I can't really say much about it. Obviously, I haven't played it, but I'm just speaking from the standpoint that Final Fantasy has been a solid staple in my early gaming career. And it's just nice to see it come back. I've heard great things about it. I've seen some great visual representation from it. So hopefully they'll do more remakes.
Yeah. Well, we've got part 2 hopefully coming up at some point in the next couple of years. And certainly I can wing you my copy. Again, I'll just mail it up or something. So, but yeah, but only when you're going to get a PlayStation, of course. But let me know when you do, and I'll pass it up.
Yeah, will do.
And the final nomination, which was nominated by Colin and myself, is Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2. Certainly a flashback to the old school days of PlayStation 1. Colin, were you a big fan of the Tony Hawk's games back in the days? And how does this game compare?
Yeah, no, I loved them, especially the first 4, and then kind of fell away, I suppose. But then I suppose skating did for a while. But it's just, again, like other games I've mentioned as well, like the love and care they put into this, getting the old soundtracks back as well as putting some new ones in that fitted the theme, and kind of merging what they learned over the first 4 games and bringing it in just to make the gameplay even better. With your manuals and things like that, things that weren't in the first one. It was just such a faithful remake, and it was just brilliant to sit back and just get a full-on nostalgia trip.
I've certainly felt that as well. Yeah, certainly with Vicarious Visions, obviously we know they've done work with most notably the Crash Bandicoot trilogy remake that came out, and I think they've certainly earned their stripes in recent years. And yeah, I always thought with the first 4 Tony Hawk's games, they were kind of like the Metallica albums, like the first 4. Like they were all great. You have your favorite, and I think after that, I can see, because they tried different things. Like Tony Hawk's 5 was, it's, from what I understand, it's still a buggy mess. Like it's just a broken experience. That doesn't stop people trying to charge, because when it came out, they were like, "Oh, I played Tony Hawk's 5," and people forgot, oh yeah, it's a shit experience. So certainly with the Underground games, I'd be interested to see if they do consider a remake. I know probably 3 and 4 are likely going to be the ones that are going to be panned about over the next couple of years and say remake these. And luckily they've already laid the groundwork, so hopefully it should just be a case of recreating those environments and taking it from there. But certainly agree with you. It's a faithful remake, and absolutely loved it. Hoping to replay it at some point soon as well. So, but of course, there is only one winner, and the winner is, after over a decade, we have a Half-Life entry with Half-Life Alyx, which is the winner of Best Comeback, voted for by myself, Troy, and Jonny. Certainly, I mean, to be fair, I wasn't expecting anything after Half-Life 2 Chapter 2. So for this was a big surprise. And let's start off with Troy. Troy, what did you think? How did you react to those, and what do you think of from what you've seen?
So, it's a bit of a funny one, this, because I'm pretty sure none of us have played it.
Nope.
But we've all seen the gameplay, and well, I'm speaking for myself that Half-Life is one of my favourite sort of universes, and the franchise is one of my favourites. So, and from that going on to Portal, all the games by sort of Valve back then were just amazing. So the gameplay that I've seen for this just looks ridiculously stunning and fun to play. It's actually making me want to get a VR set just so I can play it.
Yeah, I think for myself, I do want to play Half-Life Alyx. I'm hoping the Valve consider a VR port, but I don't know what PlayStation's view is, or whether they can get a deal or something like that to get a port over. So, I mean, I have the PS capacity, just not on the PC. But how about yourself, Jonny? What did you think of the experience?
As you know, I haven't played it yet, but I've seen bits of it. I don't want to spoil it because I do have a VR headset, like you know, and I've played a lot of VR titles. So I'm really excited for this, but I refuse to play it until I upgrade to the Quest 2 because it has an amazing resolution, the best you can get commercially. But from what I've seen of it, it's just how these games work and you interact. I mean, I've seen bits where you're out of ammo and you're there and you're pushing items out of the way on bookshelves, finding like little just random bullets, and you're popping them into your magazine and putting them in chamber and stuff. And I think it's games like this, and you've got other ones like Lone Echo where you're in space. It's just when they work perfectly and they're built to take advantage of the whole VR experience and they're so interactive, I think that's where these AAA games are going to really shine. And there are a lot more AAA companies developing games for VR, and I think it is something that it's slowly going to keep building as it has been doing, but I'm really excited to play it, and yeah, without a doubt, probably the best one.
Definitely. From what I've seen as well, this looks like the best virtual reality game that I've played. And for me, I was very high on Astro Space Mission for the PlayStation 4. I thought that the way that they moved that from that platform into VR, I thought was fantastic. But this just blows away what I thought was possible. But a first-person VR experience that feels fluent and looks great. Sign me up. Just I don't have a decent PC or VR to do so. So, but yeah, hopefully, if there is a PlayStation port, consider me sold. I'll probably sell off my foot or something to buy it, but we'll see.
Can't afford decent internet, never mind a decent computer to run that.
Don't trust the router. Right.
One day.
One day, hopefully. So let's jump in. So this is a quick one. So this is best launch title. We've obviously had the PlayStation 5. Certainly. Oh, we'll see. Got some
cheeky care package. Don't mind me, boys. It's been a long day and I'm starving.
That's all right. Well, we'll quickly jump into this. So yeah, so basically launches. We had the PS5 and the Xbox Series consoles released recently. Certainly, both of them were hot on demand, so much that the value of them almost doubled on the reseller market, which is now causing some talks at least in the UK, to say put a limit on it, which I think is completely justified. But that's a conversation for either we've done or for another day. So we'll jump by that. But there were a few nominees jumped about. So there were three main games. So the first one was one I picked for myself, was Demon Souls. Again, I was very high of my experience. I just loved that it was, I think from most of the other games, I thought this was the one that gave the most gameplay, and it felt rich. It felt like a worthy upgrade from the PS3 version. So yeah, I mean, for me, I just kind of thought, yeah, this was the game that made me kind of go, yeah, I'm all in for PlayStation 5. Now, the second most popular was Spider-Man Miles Morales, which was voted for by everyone else apart from me.
That's weird.
Are you the only one who's played it as well?
Yeah.
Well, I've played a little bit of Miles Morales, but I can certainly see the appeal. I mean, let's just if we go over to Colin, like, how has your experience been with Miles Morales, and why do you think it was a good launch game for this generation?
Again, I've only kind of messed about with it, but I've seen a lot of footage. But this was another example of what potentially PS5 can do, especially when it comes to load screens. I mean, I loved the first game, and this is just more of that, but it's a deeper dive into Miles, getting his story, but in a shorter period. You know, it's not as long as the first one, but it's just a great overall experience, getting to know Miles that little bit more, and it's a different style of Spider-Man. But again, when it's on the PS5 and you've got no loading screens and it's 60 frames a second with ray trace, it just looks out of this world.
Completely agree with you there. And from what I played so far, it looks stunning with ray tracing 60 FPS. Just so many titles that I'm just having to back and forth between them. So it just is what it is. But no, your points are completely valid there. And Jonny as well. What were your thoughts on Spider-Man Miles Morales?
Well, I've only played probably about a quarter of the original because I'm waiting to get the remaster along with Miles Morales. But I'm going off because the gameplay is amazing and it's mind-blowing that they're taking advantage of the triggers and everything like that. But it really showed for me when I did the article for the game sales in November, and Spider-Man, I think it was in 4th or 3rd place. And that were just on PlayStation alone, and the only things that beat it were like FIFA and Call of Duty, which is on every system going. So I'd say it's been holding its own up against the top competitors just on PlayStation platform alone. That's really impressive. But I'm really excited to play it, and to be honest, I think I'm going to be getting it in the next few weeks, but I'm going to play the remaster first and then jump onto that. So it's going to be a month or so.
That's what I've done. I've just dived in a little bit just to see what it's like, and then I've immediately just jumped into the remaster. So I think that's probably the best way, based on what I've heard and what I've been recommended. So it seems like a worthy choice to go by. But certainly we do have a winner, and it is a unanimous decision from all of us. And that is it's Astro's Playroom wins the award for Best Launch Game. Now, I know this is a game that we've talked about in our first podcast episode, actually. And certainly with what the game does and what it achieves. If I think speaking, if I go over to Jonny, actually, because Jonny, remember you mentioning in the first episode about the triggers and just the whole experience with the DualSense controller. I'm guessing not much has changed from that in terms of
just reading his review.
Yeah, the review says pretty much everything, but what's funny is we've all picked this and it's won the award and it's free when you get a PlayStation. It's already installed and it's free to play. And what you're getting with it, it's amazing. I know you're only getting about 3-4 hours of content out of it, but it don't let you down at all. It's always changing. It's taking advantage of all the features, like you said, and it's really well done. I mean, I keep jumping on it every now and then because when I turn my PlayStation on, when someone on my friends list always beating one of my best times on the speed runs, and it gets to me. If it didn't tell me, if PlayStation didn't tell me that someone had beaten me, I wouldn't care. But when it comes up, and especially when it's one of the people that works on this website as well, and he texts me with a picture, then I'll drop everything I'm doing basically, and I'll turn PlayStation and try and beat him again. But it's definitely
game on.
I'd say it's paid for itself, but it was free, so we've gained in that regard. So yeah, I thought it was brilliant.
Well, how about yourself, Colin? Like, what were your impressions of? Because obviously you've joined us pre the review, but did you have any thoughts of your own, kind of leading into it?
Yeah, I mean, as I say, because it was pre-installed on the console, it was like, right, I need to check this out. I know that the previous style games on this that they've done before have been really good, and I was blown away because it kind of laid the groundwork to show you what this controller can do for PS5. I mean, it kind of gave you a wee bit of everything, and I was totally in awe every time. And the fact that it was just like the game was just one big love letter to PlayStation and its history. Getting to go in the museum and see a PS1 and all the kind of stuff that comes with it was just incredible.
I like that.
Yeah, the museum is certainly a highlight, and trying to grab all of those different peripherals and the consoles. And especially for myself, and less because in terms of being only speaking from experience as a PlayStation gamer, for me it was just such a throwback. Like seeing things like the multi-tap. Like I've still got my PS1 multi-tap.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. That's the biggest thing. I forgot about it till that game.
Yeah, and just seeing like all the different peripherals, and even things like the PSP, because I had the PSP at launch, and there were certain things like the camera, and I just was stood there going, I didn't even know these things, and it was just it. And I kind of go, oh, I could get that now, and then I realize the battery life of my PSP is like 10 minutes because it's been ground down to the dirt because I charged it so many times. But yeah, and it's certainly a love story to the PlayStation legacy, and a perfect introduction into the DualSense. And yeah, it says it all really. And the fact it's free just makes it that much more polished and impeccable. So yeah, so congratulations to Astro's Playroom. So we've got a couple more awards coming up. So the next one we have is Best Story. So this one did have a little bit of a divide between us. We had a couple of votes within here. So far I can see Last of Us Part 2 was voted for by Troy. Although I can understand from Jonny's perspective, I know he's got a bit of conflict with that, but we'll save that for another day. We have another returning nominee with Final Fantasy VII Remake. That was voted for by myself and Jonny. To be fair with the story, for me, I kind of thought, because I've not played the original, I just love the way that there were a lot of stakes and there were a lot of action-packed sequences that I know that the Final Fantasy brand brings with it. But certainly for yourself, Jonny, having that kind of experience with the first game, you've commented before saying it is different. Is it something that you're appealing towards the new direction, or are you still instilled with the old game's storyline?
I'm excited for it, and I know a lot of fans were a bit upset with the ending, but I think a lot of people have come round. There's a lot of theories out there. I think it's mainly the fact that we got promised a remake. Okay, they said it wasn't going to be a one-for-one remake, but they did say the story wasn't going to differ that much. It was just going to be on small amounts, and it gets to the end, it just blows up. But I'm excited that they've changed it, and they're playing around with it. But yeah, I'm really excited for part 2, and like I said, the amount of theories, it's unreal what people are coming up with, and I don't know which way it's going to go, to be honest, but really excited for the future. And for new players, I can see it's still been appealing for you and things, but you don't know the original story, so some characters and things you might not fully understand and stuff, but you still had an amazing time, which I'm glad to hear for newcomers, so people can jump into it pretty easy.
Yeah, no, I'd certainly appeal to it, and I think for me, I think I've made a comparison before where I said this feels like the way that the Evangelion rebuild film movies are going, because when the TV series first established, it had its original format and went in the direction that it did, especially with the end of Evangelion film, which is an interesting movie. Maybe I'll save that for a review. But with the rebuild movies, when it came to the second movie, the plot was pretty much the same up to that point, and then they made small changes, and then when the third movie came in, it just completely changed everything. We've got the fourth movie, which is coming out in the next couple of weeks. I don't know whether there's going to be a dub or a sub, but that for me is like one of the big movies of this year that I'm looking forward to. But certainly I can see it's in the same vein as that. So, but yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing what Part 2 has to offer, and fingers crossed it lives up to the legacy of the original game. I guess
the better hope so.
But, yeah, exactly. We do have a couple more nominations here. So I can see, Jonny, you also voted for Persona 5 Royal. For me, obviously, I've played the game as well. Strange that I didn't nominate it for story. I think it's because I think for me, my other two nominations just outbid it a little bit. But certainly an interesting story, I'll say, where it's involving this kind of breaking free from empowerment storyline and not being restricted or conforming. And there's lots of character building in there, and although it's a long game, like 90, 100 hours, you're essentially living the life, a year in the life of a teenager who's embroiled in this kind of mix between real life and fantasy. And certainly, I when I saw your vote, I was like, good shot. Although it's just my others were just kind of all over the place. The final nominee, which was from Colin, was Miles Morales. And obviously from what you've said so far, Colin, you've said that in terms of this different feel compared to the reboot of Spider-Man and the story that has to tell. Do you have any other words on the story from your perspective?
Again, it's like the first game. It's just a solid all-round story. I love that the fact they've kind of focused on Miles, give you a bit more background. It was just a really endearing story and a bit more kind of different because the game's not as big as the first one. So it was all the kind of story beats hit really well. It was cracking.
I mean, I'm still looking forward to seeing. I will message you as soon as I finish it. we'll compare notes. But yeah,
I'm trying to avoid spoilers.
Yeah, it's difficult because we don't want to just suddenly drop in and go but we could do a spoilers discussion at some point. The future's bright, the future's orange.
Not for you with that internet. Yeah, I'll stop now. We'll stop.
Persevering. Let's announce the winner. So I can reveal that the winner for best story goes to, again, Sucker Punch's Ghost of Tsushima. Another win there. Certainly voted for by myself, Troy, and Colin. Yeah, I mean, certainly from me, the story side, I think even though I've played other games and I've embraced their stories, there's just something captivating about Ghost of Tsushima and the way that it's kind of built on these historic elements and this kind of I can't explain. It just feels like how do I put it? Colin, you voted for it.
Save him, Colin.
I'm drowning. Yeah, it's just because I think for me, it's just out of all the games, I think for me, I know it seems a bit unfair that I kind of voted for it, and I haven't really got that far into it. However, there is still something captivating from what I've seen, and from yourself, like in terms of the story, what made this more compelling compared to the other entries?
I think it was just the way they paced the story, because sometimes when you get an open world game, the pacing can be off, especially if there's a lot to do. Kind of side content wise, you can kind of get lost in a game and then almost, I've forgotten the story. Like, do you know what I mean? This one kept you engaged, and even the side stories felt a part of the overall story, that you wanted to get a bit more information on these side characters because it mattered. in the main story, and they always tied each kind of side back to the story itself. So you never felt like you were messing around or forgetting about the story. You were just felt like you were constantly moving forward in the overall arc that I'm trying to avoid for spoilers for you.
That's all right. Well, again, I think it's reassuring because again, we've seen so many side stories in games where they just feel like copy and paste mission repeats, go from A to B, and they don't really offer anything additional. So, and I think in a way, over time, we've kind of been instilled of it seemed as an option and not really worthy of completing. But certainly, hearing your thoughts on that, you've definitely appealed me to the fact that these side stories aren't something that I should be skipping and should embrace the whole experience that Tsushima offers. So certainly, you've won me over on trying to be a bit more dedicated to this title. And yeah, I mean, again, your comments just further instill, I think, why this is a worthy winner. So yeah, I'd say congratulations to Ghost of Tsushima. Great game, second win for the evening. So yeah, we've got a couple more. So the next section we have is the editor's picks. So this is ones where we kind of just sat down and we kind of thought, because we've not just played games from this year, we've played games from previous years. Because I think the great thing about games is that you can dive into experiences that not necessarily are the latest, and you can still get a fully profound experience that is akin to something that's being released today. And because of the availability, I think it is more appealing to seek out those older games and try them for yourselves, especially for people who are switching systems or may have skipped a generation. So we've all decided on a game that we feel this year has been the best game in our opinion. It's not our game of the year, but it's our best game personally. And we're just going to obviously take a moment, obviously, just to discuss our thoughts on them, why we've chosen this game. So we'll start off with let's start off with Troy. Troy, what was your game, and what were your reasons for this choice?
So my game was Immortals: Phoenix Rising. So that's a game
game
from this year. I'm just I'm speaking from how the game feels, how it looks, how much I love the sort of dad jokey comedic aspects to it, and the fact that it's Greek mythology, which is a big interest of mine as well. It's just generally, it's just a fantastic game, and it's family friendly.
Hey, broadening the spectrum, I like it. And yeah, certainly from what I've seen as well, it looks beautiful. It's and I think obviously because it's with it being on the PS5 as well, certainly it's something that it's edging me further and further. So I think with it, I think it's just enough for me to kind of jump in. I think Jonny, have you been playing Immortals?
Yes.
And do you have any comments just to back up Troy's thoughts at all? Fair analogy?
I agree with Troy.
Ah.
No, I have a lot of same with Troy. Greek mythology, one of the biggest favourite things, and that's one of the reasons why a lot of us love God of War and things. But the humour, it's like Breath of the Wild aspects, but the humour keeps you going. It's constant. It just makes you chuckle it's nice to have a bit of relief when you've just been struggling for a while with a puzzle or a tough fight, and then just a comedic aspect comes in. I mean, there's even one point where I was doing side quests, and I think it's Zeus who says it, but he's pretty much fed up. He's like, "Oh, it's nice to know that she's doing other stuff, but will she get on with the main story so we can get to the end of it?" So it just little things like that just keep me amused. But yeah, I'm really loving it.
Sounds like it's self-aware and willing to embrace its premise, which sounds good. I don't know about yourself, Colin. Have you played Immortals at all?
Yeah, I've not got right yet. It's on the list, not the backlog list yet, but it's there. It's there.
To be fair, I'm the same. So I mean, if it's anything to go by with Troy's recommendation, we'll see. We'll see if when we'll get around to doing it, because as you know, the list can always be a long one, and I'm sure our lists are stacked like a book. It's a, so yeah, no, great choice there, Troy. I think we'll keep on yourself, Colin. I see that you've picked a particular game for your pick, for your editor's pick. What have you chosen for, and why?
I chose Resident Evil 2 Remake.
Ooh, great choice.
Yeah, I actually slept on this when it first came out. It wasn't until March last year that I picked up in a sale, because, again, I vaguely remember the kind of original and playing it a little bit. I wasn't huge on it, but I'd heard enough over the kind of year that I'd missed with Resident Evil 2, how good and faithful it was, with also bringing the gameplay up to today's standards. So I just kind of stuck it on, see what was happening, and I was just absolutely blown away. The atmosphere of the game, the graphics, and normally games that give you a lot of replay value, like sometimes you'll get bored playing a game, but this game I just could not stop playing. Like, I've probably played it 6 times all the way through. It was just an incredible experience.
Yeah, I completely agree. I played through one playthrough. I'm kind of pacing myself where I'm doing one playthrough, give it a couple of months to do the next one, which I know seems a bit strange because usually you just get all the playthroughs out all in all. But I think for me, I just want to kind of like pace it a little bit and kind of get the experience over time. But certainly I agree with you from what I played from it. It just going from its format into like this third person experience, the atmosphere, it felt so. Oh, I loved it. It felt like a Resident Evil game within the third person format, and certainly with like things like Resident Evil 6, 7 was a return to form, but obviously it was first person experience, so it was like the first proper third person experience I think we've had since the 5th entry that I recall. Or if you're a bit more infamous, you'd go for number 4. You know, very much on the Game of the Year lists for a lot of people. But yeah, I mean, like, Troy, Jonny, were there any comments from yourself on Resident Evil 2 Remake?
No comment.
Mind blowing,
Okay. Yeah,
absolutely mind blowing. I played the original quite a lot when I was a kid, but to be honest, it scared the hell out of me, and I struggled on some puzzles while I was young, so I never completed it. But I've played this. I've only done one playthrough because it still does scare me, and that's what I love about it. I mean, I love all the survival aspect and fear, and it's beautifully done. And I was excited for the third one, but then reviewers have like put me off it, and I played the demo, and it's a bit more action packed, and it's very short, so I might skip the remake of the third one. But the second one, without a doubt, it's brilliant.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, I've heard a few things about the shortness of number 3, so it's nice for me that I can just go, I'm fine with 2. Like what it offers, I think, is just, you know, even if it's like side missions, like the whole survival side, I played a couple of times and I was like, this is perfect. Like I can get addicted to this if I need to. So certainly bringing the challenge. But yeah, no, great choice there, Colin. Certainly a winner. So we'll go on to Jonny's next. Jonny, I can see from here that you've picked a game that has been nominated quite a bit here, and I think this is just to cement the game's mention and winning.
Did I pick one?
This,
I'm looking at the message. Did I actually say one?
Shall I confirm it?
Well, I'm kind of guessing I know what it is now, but I didn't know if I've just selected one in my head now because I didn't think I'd sent you one.
Well, what's your choice and why? And
it's different to what you think it is or what I've sent you, because it's not what I've sent you. But to start off with, I was shocked with Troy because I thought Troy were going to pick Observation, to be honest with you. I really thought he might, because it played on my mind.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm going to go with Detroit Become Human. Ignore Final Fantasy 7. I don't know why I said that, but yeah, Detroit. I know it came out in 2018. I think that's when Resident Evil came out, or 2019, I don't know. But still, I didn't play it for a while because of Beyond Two Souls. I was a bit disappointed with that, and I kind of shied away from it. But then when it came out PlayStation Plus Collection, I just couldn't resist, and I thought I'd just have a little dabble to see what it was like, and I ended up just addicted to it. I couldn't get off it. It's so mind-blowing. If it came out in 2020, it'd be Game of the Year for me, without a doubt, 'cause it's amazing. But the story, the choices, the graphics, the music, the actors, everything I can't knock it for anything apart from maybe a control issue here and there with when you're moving around, but it's something that's always been around for Quantic Dream games, but it's definitely improved in here and it didn't really get in my way much, but absolutely
It's
amazing.
an acquired taste, isn't it? The control system that
Yeah, but I can't knock it at all, and I really wish it did come out in 2020 because, like I said, it would be on that Game of the Year pick for me.
Yeah, no, I love the way it kind of explores the, as we've mentioned on our social media when we announced your review, which is of course available on SkyPunk.co.uk, as well as Troy's review as well on Observation. Very very good game, so do check them out from our website. But yeah, certainly from what I heard, I think it was just the quality of everything, like the facial capturing, the multiple scales. It threw comedy into the mix. Even its side characters were compelling, and there were some moments. There was one moment near the end where it's kind of like a big rush bit, and there was an option which I unlocked, and I kind of picked it as a joke, and I just felt it was so unexpected. I laughed at it first, and then I kind of went, "Wow, this is actually very powerful," and it just completely turned its head on it. I do agree the gameplay is a little bit. I don't think it gets in the way of the experience. It's more, it just seems too simplified, but it doesn't really ruin the experience. But Colin, have you played Detroit at all? And did you have any thoughts on it?
No, it's on my backlog list. That's actually on my backlog list.
He's got a backlog list now.
We've all got them. About
We'll have to compare lists.
But I was same as Jonny. Like I loved Heavy Rain. I still love it to this day. I played it quite recently, but Beyond Two Souls again. I wasn't first on it. I don't even. You're lucky if I get halfway through the game. That I've kind of slept on this one for a while, but it's definitely there. Definitely want to get around.
Yeah, definitely. The one thing I will say about Beyond Two Souls is the one highlight about that is Hans Zimmer's involvement with the soundtrack. It is beautiful.
Didn't even know that.
It is.
Didn't even know.
Yeah,
I concur with that.
Yeah,
I think the biggest problem with Beyond Two Souls is the midsection, which is very weak, and it didn't actually need to be in the game for it to make any sense. I know we're talking about this girl's life events from A point to B point, but it's all jumbled up, and that midsection I just felt it wasn't needed at all.
Yeah,
that's probably where Colin lost his interest, and I know that a lot of people will lose interest at that point because it's just irrelevant.
Yeah, I think like it was in ways it was trying to be a bit too profound, like with its diversity. I think it was a bit just there was too much variety. There were some sections that I just was like, oh wow, like it made it feel like they were on a gap year in a way. It just felt really really strange. But certainly with Detroit, I would say that they kind of aligned this. They had a firm story they wanted to say within a futuristic world in a sci-fi setting. This morality and importance of AI in humanoids, and it's androids as humans. I think it's humanoids, and yeah, I thought it was a great story to tell. So yeah, great choice there, Jonny. I'll just quickly mention my editor's pick, mainly because it was the only 2020 game that I rated a 10, which was Persona 5 Royal. I bought this game just before the first UK lockdown. I played the original Persona 5 and I loved it. I thought it was a great JRPG. It was a very long experience. I remember completing it in about 4 weeks. I was addicted. I was like 4 hours a day, just on it constantly. And somehow I managed to complete this one. It was like 90 hours in 3 weeks. I was hooked. I could not put this game down. And I had a lot of free time. Unfortunately, at the beginning of lockdown, where I was able to spend long stints on this game. It just has so much involved from a gameplay perspective and a story perspective. The music mixing in like acid jazz, just the voice actors in this are fantastic. Obviously, we've got Shirley from V in there. There's also some great VAs from the anime community, like Erica Harlacher, Erica Limbeck, just trying to think who else, Max Middleton, Cassandra Lee Morris, really, really strong up and coming voice cast, and yeah, I just thought the whole experience was fantastic. I don't know if you guys have at all embraced or played. I mean, to be fair, I think I'm the only one who's played it.
It's on the backlog.
Yeah, I think you are. Yeah, it's on the backlog.
It's downloaded,
It's all on the
actually.
backlog.
I've got it downloaded to my PlayStation 5. I just need to get some free time, like a free month or something. But
Yeah.
I don't know, I'll get there eventually.
Yeah, the one thing I will say about Royal is this epilogue. I thought it was it. People might argue and say, "Oh, is the ending, was it needed?" I didn't think it was the, "Oh my god, like this is better than the original," but it was certainly a great alternate ending. I felt that doesn't actually end as an alternate, and I felt like they gave added context to some characters that they didn't before, and it was really, really nice. It just turned a great game into what I considered was a masterpiece. There was just so many things on the cover and so many things underneath to make the experience slick and just give it a more variety to an already game that has ample amount of variety in it. And it was certainly a winner in my eyes. So yeah. Congratulations to Immortals Phoenix Rising, Resident Evil 2 Remake, Detroit Become Human, and Persona 5 Royal. Great games. And if you have not played these games at all, we recommend that you do check them out because, I mean, they're all recommended from us. Certainly, whether it's either from gameplay or from the impact that they've had on our appeal, we go check them out. Go check them out. Right, so we are now down to the final award, which is Game of the Year. We're finally here, gents.
Holy chips.
And we've got a little bit something interesting, but let's go through the nominees first. Let's go through them. So yeah, I nominated Persona 5 Royal. Already self-explained that. So we've got, if I go through Troy, I see that you've picked Half-Life for your Game of the Year. I think, is there anything further that you can comment on that you have? I think you pretty much...
Yeah, I pretty much said all I can say on it, and it's wrong of me really to pick it for the Game of the Year when I haven't really played it, but I've seen quite a substantial amount of footage from it. I feel like I've got a good idea of what it's about, and
it certainly feels, it feels like the premiere VR experience, and it comes through with everything that you see. And think because of the legacy of Half-Life, even though it's not Half-Life 3, I mean, hell, we've got a third lockdown here quicker than Valve managed to get Half-Life 3 out, which is just... But to be fair, with all the years, that was always to be expected.
Yeah, it'll never come.
But yeah, we can only hold out hope. But certainly this was a nice slice of... from Valve focusing on things like, their Steam, which is making an ample amount of their money. This wasn't something that was necessarily needed, and it meant a lot to everyone in the community. So, yeah great choice there. So, Colin, I see two picks you picked here were The Last of Us 2 and Ghost of Tsushima. Obviously, we've had Ghost of Tsushima win a few awards. We've had The Last of Us 2 win a couple of awards as well. So I can see the reasoning for your votes. Do you have any further comments on those games and why they were the most important for 2020?
Again, I think both of them as well when they came out. I'm not throwing any other game under the bus, but like the fact that they just came out and it was just a complete package, and the stories, they told the stories that they wanted to tell. And again, especially with Ghosts, it was just a world that you could just get lost in. And it was just so captivating. And again, to a point, so was Last of Us. But those two were just such powerful stories with the gameplay and everything to back it up. Yeah,
it seems a bit of a shame when we've recently seen like the two games kind of like battling each out on the Game Awards. It seems a bit unfair to have two fantastic experiences almost compared with each other, because even though it's kind of like a game warfare for winner, both of them are fantastic experiences within their own unique ways. And I think, in terms of that, it seems a shame that they're kind of pitted against each other. when they should be appreciated for their positives and not make those comparisons, which is a shame. But
yeah, I mean, like in their own right, they both would have got Game of the Year if they just weren't together. Do you know what I mean? It was one of the. It was the same way. I think it was 2018 with like God of War, Spider-Man, and Red Dead. Like all of them are Game of the Year worthy. They just came out together at the wrong time. So I'd say,
yeah. Maybe there'll be like a crossover or kind of like a compilation kind of thing. Like it'd be like Naughty Punch or Sucker Dog, something like that. Maybe we'll get something like that maybe in the future, possibly.
Naughty Punch. That's brilliant.
Yeah, but yeah, no, some great games that we had there. But obviously, I can reveal we have a tie. We have a tie for Game of the Year. So we're now going into open discussion. Basically, we need to pick here, guys. So the two games for Game of the Year are Final Fantasy VII Remake and Microsoft Flight Simulator. Two very different games here. Yeah. Let's start off with Troy. Troy, I see that you put your vote in for Flight Simulator. What were your reasons for picking this particular game?
I just think it deserves it, really. The amount of effort that has gone into the detail and the amount of work that's gone into the game, and for it to look as good as it does and feel as good as it does, be as accurate as it is, I think it deserves to be Game of the Year.
No,
Absolutely.
definitely. I think that the sheer scale of what the game provides, and as we said, like the kind of the backing support that it has, it looks and feels. And I think the great thing about Flight Simulator is that even though we're currently in lockdown and flights are being heavily restricted, now is the perfect time for people who, if because we've had, this year has just been a disaster in terms of, kind of people out of work and
you might as well learn to fly. Is that what you're saying?
No. I mean, it's been such a paradigm shift this year. No, not this year. Last year. We've only just started this year.
Just let me get my violin out.
But it's been
monologuing.
I don't think, and none of us ever expected this, and I think none of us ever anticipated the impact that it would have. And I think games are stood there as an escape, but I think for games to provide an experience that would be of benefit when everything returns back to some form of normality, I think that's a powerful tool. And it's not, I think it's not to say, everyone's going to become pilots, because as we've seen, like being a pilot takes a lot of experience. But for those who maybe want to consider that as a possibility after things return, this is a perfect opportunity. And the realism of the game and its gameplay and what it offers, it gives people a chance to experience that and teach for themselves. I mean, Jonny, you've had a couple of flights, you've piloted a few on SkyPunk Airlines. What would you make to comment on Troy's choice?
I can agree with the choice. I think I might have slipped in a cheeky vote for that as well. But yeah, it's becoming real. But you were just joking about saying, we've been in lockdown and we may as well learn to fly. When we got Flight Simulator, me and Troy literally knew nothing about planes. And I especially didn't. I don't know about Troy, I might have known a little bit, I'm not too sure, but I were clueless. And from playing that, I've played it for about 50, 60 hours. From when I started to now, it's ridiculous. I know all sorts of lingo going on, and I can pilot all sorts, but it's just,
Captain
I don't know.
Travis, first officer.
Yeah. I mean, we've been hooked. We've watched loads of YouTube videos. I'm part of a Discord server for help and things. They've actually got real pilots in there, and we've been in some geeky little classrooms where the real pilots taking us through what to do on the planes and going through the system. So yeah, it's been an experience and a massive learning curve, to be honest, and I've enjoyed it. Aviation all the way in 2020.
Yeah, it'd just be like, please be aware your complimentary copy and tea will be coming to you very shortly. That is all. But yeah, no, I think it's hearing about this community as well. Like we hear about gaming communities with like, Call of Duty, we hear FIFA, we hear, we hear all these communities. But I think this is one of those rare communities where there is such an essence of realism. And not only that, but people who are involved with the aviation industry can jump in and be able to help people. A pilot could technically offer their services and assist someone through online courses and tutorials, and people could pay to do that. And it's crazy because I don't think I've personally seen that kind of element implemented in such a platform and a game.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Like, I'm not saying
Certainly
I would,
most,
but go on.
I was just going to say it's certainly the most comprehensive simulator that I've experienced.
I've played quite a few, and it's on another level and stuff. But if I'm on a plane and something happens to pilot and co-pilot, right, I'm gonna run up the aisle. I'm from the internet, and I will save the day. I won't even trust myself, to be honest.
Pretty sure that none of my passengers would survive anyway.
Oh no! Even if has anyone got any experience? Even if it's a simulator, I'd still be at corner hiding away because it just wouldn't be happening. But yeah, it's been amazing, and even me and Troy have been looking into like taking maybe in a few basic flying lessons. That's how far it's gone. So we'll see if that actually comes forward.
Well, definitely. Well, I mean, hopefully
need to get through this backlog first.
Yeah, we're too busy at the moment.
Yeah. See, I'm guessing. I think, from what I understand, Colin, I don't think. I mean, because I think it's Flight Sim on PC only at the moment, or is it on Xbox?
It's coming to Xbox Series X and Series S this summer, I believe.
Oh, and I see.
They've pushed it back, and I've seen on Twitter a lot of people giving Microsoft some abuse over it, saying, you need to bring it out now. It's like, look, it's still having issues on PC. It's come a long way from launch, but just let's iron everything out, and then you can have the experience then, because there's a lot of work into it. I mean, like I said, how big it was and how many systems are involved. Just wait. I mean, we all know what happens if we don't wait, even if we wait with a recent release. So
why rush it?
Exactly. Just let the developers do it. What's that one?
Upgrading my hardware so it'll run better. That's how powerful the game is.
Yeah, but yeah, like I said, just leave them to do it, and you will get the game on Xbox. It's coming. Just bear with it, and you will have an amazing experience, I'm sure.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, Colin, I mean, obviously, I'm not too sure whether on your systems or not, whether this has been a possibility or whether it's on the list. Is it a backlog, or have you played it?
It's not a backlog yet. When it comes to Xbox, it'll become a backlog. Yeah. At this stage of the game, it's like I can barely run this, let alone a flight simulator. So, I'll wait.
Yeah, at least it's not as bad as my internet. Let's just be glad about that.
Tell me about it.
No, yeah, I think definitely if it comes to Xbox, then I think it's something that definitely will be appealing to me. But yeah, the second entry we've got to talk about is Final Fantasy VII Remake. So this is a title that has come up quite frequently in the awards. We've had, I think, at least 4 nominations. The most out of any game, I think, might be around that time. But I think the only one is The Last of Us, I think, which is compared. But yeah, no, this is this was voted obviously by myself and Jonny. So obviously we've spoken about Final Fantasy so far in the cast, and yeah, like, Jonny, do you have any words that you haven't already said about it?
Welcome to SkyPunk Media. On this episode, we will be talking about FF7. That's pretty much what it's turned into.
Yeah.
No words. And because we're having a big fight between, well, I voted for them both as well, Fantasy 7 and Flight Simulator. I think the name gives it away. I mean, we've got a game and we've got a simulator, which is, all right, it is a game, but it is still a simulator. So, yeah, I kind of done this myself by voting for them both. It's a bit tough to call between them because they're totally different kind of experiences and you're going for different things. But the Final Fantasy VII Remake story, I mean, I did expect competition. I did expect Last of Us 2 to beat it, in my opinion, but it didn't. It fell short. I expected Valhalla to come in, but that didn't grip me. And of course, we all expected Cyberpunk to take over our lives and demolish everything. And something has that been in awards? I didn't think so, but yeah,
I had one.
yeah, I've won. I had a nomination, didn't it? But
Jeremy Lee was in it.
Yeah, so everything that I expected to compete against it and win didn't really even come close. I mean, Last of Us 2 probably got the closest, but yeah, there's issues with that in my opinion and stuff. But yeah, there's not too much I can talk about with the game, but that's my opinion versus the simulator and all the other titles that have been nominated.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, unfortunately for myself, I've not played Valhalla, so I can't really compare. I know that you had some issues, Jonny, with that. Certainly with Final Fantasy VII being like a new experience for me, I just think it just delivered on those aspects that I see in a game, like presentation. Apart from a few kind of pixelated backgrounds, the character models were enough for me to be immersed and just kind of flow through the experience. A little bit of polish on them would be beautiful, but we don't know. I mean, the story was intriguing. I loved this whole. I mean, for me, I loved Barrett as a character. I loved Tifa as a character. I loved Aerith, Jesse, Biggs, Wedge. Even Cloud himself with his slightly, kind of cold, sarcastic response, like "Let's go." About as much personality as a kitchen sponge, but we're starting to see him, kind of get out of that sponge mentality and become more like a display towel, so to speak.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and the music was fantastic. The gameplay, obviously, I think I was. I rushed into the experience, but I jumped in. I could see everything that was doing, even the mini games, funny moments. I just loved it. It for me, it beat Persona 5 Royal, even though I would rate Persona 5 Royal above it. For me, I just felt like there was just something about. I don't know whether it's because the new sequel's coming out or something where it just It just felt like more of a compelling title to me, which is why I kind of went against my head and went with my heart with this one. So, but yeah, certainly, we're in a bit of a tie break. So I don't know how we're gonna do this. So I'm just trying to think. So at the moment, Colin hasn't voted for either, and we've got Jonny who has voted for both. So I think I'm pretty much under the impression that me and you, Troy, our votes are sunk in. You're Flight Sim, and I'm Final Fantasy, right?
Yeah.
When I was talking about saying that
Colin...
one's more of a game and one's more of a simulator, I was thinking, why don't we just have 2 awards? Simulator of the Year, because there's been a few other sims that have been out, like F1 2020, which I've played endlessly. And obviously you've got the Final Fantasy 7, which is the game aspect. So we could technically have a Simulator of the Year and a Game of the Year, because they are so different, like I said, and different experiences. You're going for different things. I just think they're too different to be put off against each other.
No, I think that's a great idea. So I was just going to be like, what are you guys going to vote for? So I really agree.
You can't really compare them when they've got different sort of... you get different things out of them, don't you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, definitely. So yeah, I mean, like, Colin, what would you think of? What would you think of both games and Jonny's proposed idea?
I think it's a great idea because they do sound so well. They're definitely 2 different, very very different games. Final Fantasy for me kind of captures my attention more, but again, with everything the guys have said about Flight Simulator, it sounds absolutely amazing and getting the males right into it. But I think the fact that you can't really overly compare them, I think splitting it is definitely the way to go.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah,
didn't see this coming at all. This is weird.
It's a curveball. So yeah, we are. So on this basis, we can confirm that the winner for Simulator of the Year, of the same caliber, we must add, goes to Microsoft Flight Simulator, a worthy winner. And for Game of the Year, we choose Final Fantasy VII Remake. So congratulations to both, I think it's Xbox Game Studios, I think, for Flight Sim, and for Square Enix for Final Fantasy VII. Now we do have one more thing that we voted for. There is one thing that I do want to announce, which I think this is across the board. We've kind of just labeled this, but I wanted to give out an honor. So you're probably thinking, what is an honor? You know,
I know what's
medal,
coming. I know what's coming.
So basically, this isn't one, because we didn't want this to be a regular award, but we wanted to give a kind of a special note to one particular area, which I think I've personally thought this has been a massive appealing point and has really awoken the gaming industry to what they can do in video games, to those who have certain impairments, disabilities, and that's accessibility. And we've certainly seen, we've seen certain things where games have not, where they've adapted little things in terms of kind of brightness and things, but there was one game this year that I felt did this in such a way that just that I didn't think was done to this scale. And if it has done to this scale, I think that they've given this a spotlight and a platform to say, this is what we need to be doing in video games moving forward. And certainly that game is The Last of Us Part 2. From an accessibility standpoint, I think that compared to any games over the past few years, I think it's the most expansive. I know, Jonny, when you were playing The Last of Us Part 2, you tested out some of the features. I hope that you'll kind of back me on this particular choice.
Oh, I'm straight ahead of it. Accessibility all the way, no matter what anyone says. Yeah, I mean, like I've stated before, when there's been talks with the Demon Souls, when fans kicked off about an easy mode and things like that, it's like, if it's not ruining your experience and it's boosting someone else's experience, just leave it. What does it matter, as long as we're all enjoying a game how we can play it? I mean, it's we've got to that point now. We're past the options of just easy, normal, hard. We're at that point where obviously The Last of Us Part 2 and some have followed suit to a similar extent, where you've got a multitude of different options in different areas just to fine tweak it, just in case you're not able to play it that way, for people colourblind, any other disabilities, and just people that aren't just as skillful in certain areas. I mean, it means they're not going to get stuck and frustrated, they're not going to turn it off, they get to just enjoy the game how they want to experience it. And I think it's a really good thing, and I do think it's catching on quite a bit.
It is catching on. I've seen it recently, actually, Jonny, on Man of Medan, when I was scrolling through the controls for that. There's some accessibility settings on there.
Is there an accessibility option to make it work online, or?
I'm still working on that
one. Yeah. For those of you who might want to know a bit more, Jonny did a video a couple of days ago about his issues with Xbox Game Pass. It's on our YouTube channel. It's somewhere. Just check it out. Yeah. And finally, obviously, I know, Colin, you've obviously played The Last of Us Part 2. Were you able to explore any of the accessibility options at all, or?
Yeah, well, I suppose I used them as a cheat to try and help chase down that platinum. Came in handy for the collectibles, but I mean, the options they put into this is just crazy. I've never seen the depth in a game that they went to. I mean, they must have had whole teams just working on this. And personally, I think they've clearly set a new standard now for games, because I know games were getting better, but Naughty Dog just went, no, this is how it needs to be done, and it was incredible.
No, definitely. And even so, like, those kind of options, I mean, I think it's more of a case of just getting ourselves out of temptation. Like, we've had cheat codes in the past with games like Grand Theft Auto and things, and just because the option's there doesn't mean you have to use it. And I think, like I say, those aspects would be appealing to those who are a bit more limited being able to play games, and just to have those options there enhances their performance. And just because if you are of sound mind and can play your experiences from a standard standpoint, you know, there's if you want to tweak it, if you feel, oh no, maybe it's a bit too fast for my liking, there's an option there. If you do have a slight sense of visual impairment, there are options there to assist as well. And it's more that those there are to aid people when necessary. But if you're a sound mind, you don't have to do it. You can just play the game as normal. Just don't be tempted by these options if it's not how you want to play the game. And if you get annoyed about it, like Jonny says, then there's just no point. Just see this as a positive for broadening the scale of who can play video games. And I think this is why giving this honor to Naughty Dog for The Last of Us Part 2 is well needed, because it sets a brand new standard, it sets a new standard, I should say, in the industry, where companies should be a bit more aware of this being a possibility and how this can be implemented in future games. But yeah,
isn't it? And the leading light
exactly.
Now, aren't they?
And can I just add, if you look online on YouTube, Twitter, and anything, there's been some heartbreaking stories about people who have finally been able to play The Last of Us Part 2. I mean, there's people that just haven't been able to play games for a long, long time, and now they've finally got that opportunity, but they're actually heartbreaking and brought tears to my eyes, because it's just people that used to play games and then something's happened and they haven't played them for a long, long time, and it's just like, now they can actually experience and take part. It just shows you how much it means to people, and yeah, it just needs to get better and better.
Yeah, video games
videos on...
Sorry, you go.
No, sorry. I was just going with what Jonny was saying. Like, the amount of videos on YouTube of people breaking down over this game just with those options. I mean, it just shows how important it is to people and how kind of unthought of they've been, through the last however many years. But this is definitely a new standard to keep those types of players coming in and getting to enjoy the games the same way we do.
Yeah, without question.
It's definitely. Games should be for everyone. They shouldn't be for I like it. It used to be kind of like this small kind of niche, and now it's the most expansive it's ever been. The video game industry is now estimated to be roughly about 180 billion dollars, the biggest it's ever been, and now is it's become as universal as social media. And you should be able to embrace these experiences, no matter what your circumstances, no matter what your impairments, no matter what your disabilities. And it's long overdue. I'm glad with the technology the way it is. Even things like the Xbox accessibility controller. Even though it's like, oh no, it's not just it's not like this. It's if you're thinking that, it's not for you. Like it is for someone who is not in the standard situation that you're in. So, and kind of seeing people play the Xbox accessibility controller again, just in heartwarming, enlightening, and games need to be played by everyone. We shouldn't be singled out because of certain things.
Fully agree.
But yeah, on that one, there is one final thing. I know we're running a little bit over time, but we just got. At the moment, obviously, we've got a Games of the Generation award. However, we're going to leave that for another time, because that is a whole episode in itself.
Yeah,
we're talking
absolutely.
7 years of games, and I think if we did it now, it would turn a just over 1.5 hour episode into a 4 hour. So let's skip that. But I think the final thing before we do go, we'll wrap this up with this final thing, which is the most anticipated game. Obviously, 2020, we're trying to put that to bed, and we're going to bring in the new year. And there have been a flurry of games that are coming out over the next 12 months that we are all looking forward to. Unfortunately, we couldn't decide because we did a whole vote system, and then we were like, oh, no, it's not this. So we've all had a little individual pick of what we are looking forward to over the course of 2021. I'm just going to ask each of us just to name the title and just for a minute just kind of explain why they're excited about it. So I'm going to start off with let's start off with Troy. What was your pick and why are you excited?
Most anticipated game, this one, yeah. So Halo Infinite. Now,
good call.
I know this is they did sort of a reveal, didn't they, Jonny? And people weren't happy with how it looked, but I'm still bloody excited for it. They've had a load more time now to dive back into development and make it a game that we deserve. in this franchise. It's one of my favorite franchises.
And the fact that you are going to get this brand new experience, which looks like they're dedicating the time. I could see the excitement in your eyes.
Can you?
Although for those who are watching on YouTube, and maybe on other mediums, they probably won't see this, but I do. But yeah, no, good choice there. Great choice. So we'll move over to Jonny next. So Jonny, what is your choice and why are you excited?
Well, there is one big one, but I think it's something a lot of people are waiting for, and it's a bit, I wouldn't say cliche, but a bit obvious. But there is another one that I'm excited. Yeah, I've got another one that I thought was coming out this month, but I don't know if I've read it wrong or it's been delayed again, but it's coming out in March, I believe, and that is a game called Kenner Bridge of Spirits. And we saw this on the I think we saw it on the PlayStation 5 reveal last year, and it looks gorgeous. It's got the nice animated graphics, the bright colours. Not too much has been revealed about it, but I'm really excited for what it has to offer. I think it's going to be a nice adventure with a decent enough story to keep me gripped, and I'm just hoping it kind of blows me away, even though I'm excited for it.
Yeah, no, definitely from what I saw from it, it does have this very strong appeal to it. It's this aura that you can't look away from. So, no, again, great choice from yourself, Jonny. Really great choice. I know Colin's vote, but I'm going to save him till last because I'm going to give him the honour of the final choice. And because he's pre-told me the choice, I think this is a good one. It is a great choice. Good choice, Colin. So I'll quickly just jump into mine. So for me, like I say, there are a few games, but the one game that is really appealing to me is Elden Ring. Now, for those of you who don't know, the short of it is that from the Dark Souls director from Software is collaborating with Game of Thrones writer George R.R. Martin, and is creating this almost Lord of the Rings style RPG experience. And if we know what we know from Software, especially for myself with Demon's Souls last year, is that this kind of hardcore RPG experience has certainly appealed to me. And the fact that From Software are going to be working with this lucrative writer of a TV series that until a few years ago, after its final season, it wasn't his involvement though, really, because it was probably director's choice. But his writing seems to be consistent and created one of the most polarizing TV series of the last decade. And for the two to collaborate with each other, there are so many possibilities. And I feel that this just has all the aura. The trailer just looks how I would envision the two of them working together to be. And that for me is just, there's something about it. I'm just kind of going, come on. So, have any of you guys seen it? And any thoughts on it?
My friend texted me the other day about it because I totally forgot. He said, "Oh, yeah, I'm excited for this game. It looks like a competitor for the Elder Scrolls franchise." And I was like, "What?" And then he sent me a link to trailer, and I remember it because it's been, I think it was ages ago, the short trailer, and I was like, "Oh, I forgot this is coming." And I didn't think it would come in this year. I didn't have a clue, to be honest. So I've seen it. Like I said, it looks like Elder Scrolls, but I think Bethesda have got some competition if it's going to do well. Big time.
I mean, for me, I'm not too sure whether. I mean, I might have got my facts wrong, possibly, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be like that kind of blend. But we'll see. But how about you guys? Have you seen it at all? Or
no, I'd seen it. It's not my type of genre, but I dare say I might delve into it at some point.
And how about yourself, Colin? I saw a little bit of a no there, but guessing.
No, I've not seen the trailer, or unless I'm like Jonny and I have, and it's been ages and I've just forgotten. But I've heard enough people talking about it that it's got my interest, especially when kind of compared to Elder Scrolls. That I'm a huge fan of that. So it sounds really up my street. And I've heard enough people talk about it that it's like I'm keeping my eye on it.
No, definitely. So yeah, I would. I mean, from that, I mean, Yeah, I mean, like we do have an article on some of these games up on our website, part of the Press Select series. So although Kenner wasn't included, do check it out on our website. We've got a number of other games, which includes this final entry. And to give the honours to our newest member of the SkyPunk team, Colin, what is your most anticipated game and why are you excited?
Probably one of the ones that everyone will say, but God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah,
There it is.
Yes.
There it is. That's why I didn't pick it.
You want to say it.
I was tempted to not pick it because I know it's one everyone will gravitate to, but I'm such a huge fan of the series as a whole. Like I loved the series before they kind of redone it with the 2018 one, but just what they managed to achieve with the 2018 game just gets me so excited. There was enough in that game that they didn't explore that you were like, oh, I want to go there. So you could almost start to piece together what you might be doing, and it's just really exciting. Part of me thinks it's not coming out this year. I feel like it will delay it at some point, but the wee part of me is holding in there that they do let it come out this year. But if it's anything like the last one, then it can only be amazing.
Yeah, and just to think as well, if it, with it coming out on the PS5, like I mean, the reboot, we had no loading screens, which was pushing the boundaries of the system. And I think for me, it's the reboot was. I mean, for me, unfortunately, I didn't play any of the previous games, but certainly for the remake, it blew me away. I know it blew Jonny away as well.
Yeah, I've played a couple of the originals. I think I played the first and the second and a bit of the third. But I've looked online, I've seen the stories from everything, even the PSP titles on the side, and I wasn't expecting too much because I thought the original God of Wars were okay, and then I picked this up, and yeah, well, it's my favourite game in the PlayStation 4 generation, competing very strongly with Detroit Become Human, but it was absolutely amazing. The story, it's something else, it really is, and I can't wait for the second one.
Yeah. And Troy, have you seen anything from it at all, or anything? Because you've mentioned that you might be getting a PlayStation. Is what you've seen?
No bloody might be about it now. It's all these exclusives, man.
I know the buggers for it.
I seem to remember playing the last one. It was just having a look going. I can't remember where. But yeah, I know I said I wasn't really into sort of the medieval type genre, but it's a different sort of twist on it. It's more like Nordic, isn't it? And
yeah,
that's right up my street, is that? So.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I think a great final game to go by. Certainly, I know there are other games that we haven't covered, but certainly 2021 is looking to be a very prosperous year for the video game industry, and we are all excited for the various titles that are coming out. But yeah, on that note, I think we'll probably end the episode here. Lot of discussion in this episode. So yeah, just first of all, just want to of course thank my fellow comrades as always, Mr. Jonny Travis, Mr. Troy Johnson, and to our brand new member, Mr. Colin Nimmo, for joining us this week. Yeah. So yeah, certainly with the podcast, again, we've got some other ideas. I don't know whether we're keeping the episodes a little bit short. I think this one's probably near 2 hours, unfortunately. But I think our aim is to possibly cut them down a little bit. I think that's the plan, guys. I think.
Yeah. Well, this one I think I'm going to turn into a two-parter. It's going to be a two-parter as this episode, just to make it a bit more bite-sized for everybody. But yeah, we're going to try and keep it under the hour mark. And I know some people say they'll love hearing us talk and a little longer, but we've got unlimited episodes. We can keep going forever, so we don't have to worry too much about trying to cram everything into one episode.
Yeah, I think we've got some ideas on how to make, because obviously we've had quite a few big episodes recently. So, but on that note, we'll end this right here. So thank you everyone for watching. And we'll hope to see you on the next SkyPunk Media podcast. See you guys.
See ya.